And again, on these issues, you see there are tremendous wisdoms in the ahkam of Allah Azza wa Jal, and you see that they are based upon true justice, actual justice. Right? So, in Islam, the word justice, it actually carries what it means. To give you an example, let's say in the case of murder, when someone murders someone on purpose, then the ruling in Islam is that there are three options. The family of the one murdered can either have retribution, right? So that would mean that that person, the murderer, would be killed. Obviously after due process, after due legal process. After, it goes through the judges and things like this, and things are verified, and, it's proven that he did it on purpose, and so on and so forth. Right? This is the first option. Second option is that they can request blood money to compensate for the loss of that member of the family. Because that member of the family might have been someone who earns money, has a family, feeds children, other people depend upon him. So the second option is blood money. The third option is that the family can decide to forgive, to overlook. Now, when you think about these three possibilities, you see that these three possibilities, they suit the individual nature of people and also the individual circumstances of people. So, for example, there might be a family who the anger that they feel is so strong that this anger cannot be repelled except by revenge, except by justice, right? So they feel that retribution represents justice, right? And they've got the choice to do that. So therefore, they will tell the judge that basically, yes, we want retribution, it's our right, and we want justice to be done. And so once that's done, they will feel relieved that justice has been done, right? Or secondly, there could be another situation where the family, they think, well, okay, we've lost so-and-so person from our, family, but if we were to receive blood money, that blood money, a substantial amount, would make life very easy for us. And so we'd prefer to take blood money rather than have justice, because to have this person killed, it's not going to change anything, So this is their way of thinking. So that option is there as well. Or the third situation is just to forgive, right? So there might be some situations where a person feels, well, qadar Allah, whatever, right? He just decides to forgive the person, maybe because it might be of benefit to the murderer himself, maybe he might repent, maybe he might whatever else, or maybe he might stipulate conditions that I'll forgive you on the basis of such and such and such. So you see that all of this now, the real concept of justice, it actually exists in this particular ruling. However, when you look at what is outside of Islam, you look at the various laws and things like that, you find that all crime is really commercial, right? So a murder case is something from which money is to be made, right? By the legal system itself, right? So the lawyer on this side will be getting paid, and the lawyer on that side will be getting paid, right? And then the very notion of justice itself, the actual person, whether they feel that they've received justice or not, is irrelevant, right? So often you'll find that the person will feel, well, justice hasn't actually been done because the anger, it hasn't been removed from their hearts, right? And that's because all crime is actually, it's commercial, meaning that a crime is a crime. If you look at how these nations, how they operate and how they work, all crime is basically commercial. The thinking is basically along the lines, well, if someone's killed someone else, that person basically was a taxpayer, and because that taxpayer has now been removed, there's a loss economically to the system, and so therefore the way of thinking isn't on the basis of actual justice, the concept of justice itself. It's upon other considerations, right? So depending on what system you're looking at, whether it's like communism, capitalism, or whatever else, or whatever philosophies people run the system upon, you see that there are gross deficiencies in those situations, and the true and real notion of justice isn't really truly expressed. The person doesn't feel that justice has been done, right? Because everything is just really, really commercial, right? A murderer gets sent to jail, comes out, commits the murder again, right? Then you have another court case for that murderer, right? Lawyers make money, there's a whole media circus. There's lots of money made everywhere. But where's the justice? Whereas, Islamically speaking, you could have cut the whole thing off from the very beginning, right? Justice would have been done, and the whole thing would have ended from the very beginning. So the point being that this is an example that the Shaykh gave, which is a common example that a lot of people, they don't understand the wisdom in these affairs, despite the fact that the notion of justice is very, very clearly apparent, and they actually achieve what is supposed to be achieved, meaning which is lack of crime, justice in society. And that's why in general you see in the countries, like for example in Saudi Arabia, you don't have, we're not saying that they don't exist, but you don't have a drugs problem like you have, for example, in the Western nations. Because anyone caught smuggling drugs into the country, well, you know what will happen, right? And just general, we're not saying there is no crime. Of course there's always crime. Even in the time of the Messenger of Allah, those people used to drink alcohol, and the crimes of the flesh, so to speak. But the point being that these affairs, they limit and they reduce crime to a minimum, and they also establish proper justice. So the point being from all of this, anyone basically who has this resentment and has this dislike and hatred, then this is from shu'bah, this is from the branches of disbelief.